everyone, my name is Agit Nur Safitri. In this video, I will present to you about simultaneous interpreting from Indonesia to English. So let's start the video first.
Halo sahabat trainer, jumpa lagi dengan saya Prita Kemalgani di Entrepreneurs Diaries.
Hello sahabatpreneur, back again with me Prita Kemalgani on the Entrepreneur Diaries.
Acara yang selalu menghadirkan entrepreneur inspiratif dengan cerita bisnis dan kesehariannya.
The program that always present an inspirative entrepreneur with their business story and daily life.
Kali ini edisi spesial dengan seorang tokoh, yaitu Bapak Nadiem Anwar Makarim, yaitu CEO dan founder dari Gojek.
This time is a special edition with public figure Mr. Nadiem Anwar Makarim. He is the CEO and founder of Gojek.
Mari kita simak perbincangan saya bersama Bapak Nadiem Anwar Makarim.
Let's see our talks with Mr. Nadiem Anwar Makarim.
Gojek itu idenya lahir dari frustrasi saya gunain ojek di Jakarta.
The idea of Gojek was born out of my frustration of using motorcycle in Jakarta.
Gitu ya.
Jadi sebenarnya alasan jujurnya saya bikin Gojek itu karena saya membutuhkan layanan tersebut.
So actually, my honest reason I created Gojek is because I need the service itself.
Ya, jadinya karena kemana-mana naik ojek, waktu itu saya di konsultan di McKinsey.
I go everywhere with motorcycle taxi when I used to work as a consultant at McKinsey.
Mana kalau mau meeting naik ojek karena kalau naik mobil nggak bakal nyampe.
When I want to attend any meeting anywhere, I ride motorcycle taxi because if I ride a car, it will take a very long time.
Klien bakal selalu telat.
Iya.
Tapi kenyataannya kalau lagi butuh ojek nggak ada. Kalau nggak butuh ojek, menu-menuhin di pangkalan.
I will always be late every time I had meeting with client. But the truth is, motorcycle taxi are not always available. When we don't need it, we'll become crowded in street corner.
Terus kalau tinggal beberapa sisa pulang kantor, mau naik ojek pasti ditembak harga 50.000, 40.000.
And then after office hour, if I want to ride motorcycle taxi, they will set the price at 50,000 or 40,000.
Begitu muka saya kayak orang luar jadi.
Moreover, my face look like foreigner.
Pertama ditembaknya 50-60 ribu.
Firstly, they will set the price at 50,000 to 60,000.
Saya langsung mulai kesel, saya bingung kenapa ini bisa nggak efisien.
I'm upset and confused why this matter are not efficient.
Ini barulah saya mulai ngobrol-ngobrol. Punya ojek langganan kan, saya 3-4, saya ajak ngopi. Saya ajak ngopi di pinggir jalan, habis itu saya mulai interview mereka.
Then I start to talk, and now 3 to 4 motorcycle taxi driver. We took a coffee, then I interviewed them.
Gimana sih hidup Anda gitu?
How's your life?
Mikroekonomi seorang ojek itu seperti apa? Baru dari situ saya mulai sadar, wah.
How's the microeconomy of a motorcycle taxi driver? From there I realized, wow.
Ini adalah problem fundamental demand dan supply yang nggak match.
This is fundamental problem of demand and supply that are not matched.
Jadi ini adalah problem efficiency.
So this is a problem efficiency.
Yang harus kita resolve gitu.
Which is need to be resolved. So that's enough for my video. Bye. Okay, in this video, I will present to you about simultaneous interpreting from English to Indonesia. So let's start the video first.
Thank you so much.
Terima kasih banyak.
I am a journalist.
Saya seorang jurnalis.
My job is to talk to people from all walks of life all over the world.
Tugas saya berbicara dengan berbagai kalangan masyarakat di seluruh dunia.
Today, I want to tell you why I decided to do this with my life.
Aturan baik. Okay, in this video, I will present to you about simultaneous interpreting from English to Indonesia. So let's start the video first.
Thank you so much.
Terima kasih banyak.
I am a journalist.
Saya seorang jurnalis.
My job is to talk to people from all walks of life all over the world.
Tugas saya berbicara dengan berbagai kalangan masyarakat di seluruh dunia.
Today, I want to tell you why I decided to do this with my life and what I've learned.
Hari ini, saya ingin sampaikan mengapa saya melakukan hal ini dan pelajaran apa saja yang saya dapatkan.
My story begins in Caracas, Venezuela, in South America, where I grew up.
Cerita saya dimulai dari Caracas, Venezuela, di Amerika Selatan, tempat saya tumbuh besar.
A place that to me was and always will be filled with magic and wonder.
Salah satu tempat yang menurut saya adalah yang akan selalu penuh daya tarik dan keajaiban.
From a very young age, my parents wanted me to have a wider view of the world.
Sejak kecil, orang tua menginginkan saya memiliki pandangan lebih luas tentang dunia.
I remember one time when I was around 7 years old.
Saya ingat saat saya berumur sekitar 7 tahun.
My dad came up to me and said,
Ayah saya mendatangi saya dan berkata,
Mariana, I'm going to send you and your little sister, who was 6 at the time, to a place where nobody speaks Spanish.
Mariana, ayah akan mengirimmu dan adik perempuanmu yang berumur 6 tahun waktu itu ke tempat yang tak seorang pun berbahasa Spanyol.
I want you to experience different cultures. He went on and on about the benefits of spending an entire summer in this summer camp in the United States.
Ayah ingin kamu merasakan budaya lain. Dia terus bercerita tentang keuntungan melewatkan sepanjang musim panas di sebuah perkemahan musim panas di Amerika Serikat.
Stressing a little phrase that I didn't pay too much attention to at the time, you never know what the future holds.
Dengan sedikit penekanan, yang saya tak peduli sama sekali waktu itu, kamu tak pernah tahu bagaimana masa depan nanti.
Meanwhile, in my 7-year-old mind, I was thinking we were going to get to summer camp in Miami.
Sementara itu, di pikiran saya saat itu, saya membayangkan kami akan pergi ke perkemahan musim panas di Miami.
Maybe it was going to be even better, and we were going to go a little further north to Orlando, where Mickey Mouse lived.
Mungkin malah lebih menyenangkan. Mungkin kami akan berkunjung sedikit ke arah utara di Orlando, tempat tinggal Mickey Mouse.
I got really excited.
Saya sangat bersemangat.
My dad, however, had a slightly different plan. From Caracas, he sent us to Brainerd, Minnesota.
Tapi ternyata ayah punya rencana yang sedikit berbeda. Dari Caracas, dia mengantarkan kami ke Brainerd, Minnesota.
Mickey Mouse was not up there.
Mickey Mouse tak ada di sana.
And with no cell phone, no Snapchat or Instagram, I couldn't look up any information.
Di sana juga tidak ada ponsel, Snapchat, atau Instagram. Saya tak bisa mencari informasi apapun.
We get there, and one of the first things I noticed was that the other kids' hair was several shades of blonde, and most of them had blue eyes.
Kami tiba di sana, salah satu hal yang pertama saya amati yaitu rambut anak-anak lain dengan beragam warna pirang, dan hampir semua bermata biru.
Meanwhile, this is what we looked like.
Sementara rambut kami seperti ini.
The first night, the camp director gathered everyone around the campfire and said,
Malam pertama, pemandu perkemahan mengatur kami mengelilingi api unggun, kemudian berkata,
"Kids, we have a very international camp this year. The Atencios are here from Venezuela."
anak-anak, perkemahan tahun ini sangat bernuansa internasional. Di sini ada keluarga Atencio dari Venezuela. So I think this enough for my video. See you, bye. Okay, back again with me. In this video, I will present to you about consecutive interpreting from Indonesia to English. So let's start the video first.
Kepada Bapak Ibu, sebuah kehormatan buat saya.
Okay, back again with me. So in this video, I will present to you about simultaneous interpreting from Indonesia to English. So let's start the video first.
Kepada Bapak Ibu, sebuah kehormatan buat saya bisa diberikan bicara saat ini. Tentu seperti yang kita ketahui, hubungan diplomatik Republik Indonesia dengan Inggris Raya sudah terjalin berpuluh tahun lamanya. Sejak tahun 1949 hingga saat ini. Inggris Raya merupakan salah satu mitra penting bagi Indonesia, termasuk mitra dagang utama di kawasan Eropa. Eratnya hubungan dan kemitraan tersebut membuka peluang kerjasama di berbagai sektor, termasuk sektor UMKM atau Small Medium Enterprise. Keberadaan BNI di London sangatlah penting bagi para pelaku usaha, terutama bagi UMKM Indonesia yang sedang kita dorong untuk go global. Hal ini dikarenakan kami mendorong BNI London berperan sebagai bank milik Indonesia yang dapat menjadi jembatan bagi para pelaku usaha serta asosiasi pengusaha diaspora UMKM di kawasan Inggris Raya dan Eropa untuk bermitra dengan pelaku usaha di Indonesia melalui solusi bisnis yang menyeluruh, antara lain melalui fasilitas dan layanan transaksi yang adaptif dengan tuntutan bisnis. Keberadaan BNI London ini kita harapkan dapat membantu para pelaku usaha Indonesia, khususnya UMKM, yang ingin mengembangkan usaha merambah ke Inggris Raya dan Eropa. Dan kami juga berharap dengan adanya UK Small Medium Enterprise Business Summit ini dapat menjadi peluang dan kesempatan bagi UMKM Indonesia untuk menggali dan mengoptimalkan potensi produk-produknya. Saya yakin.
Hi, ladies and gentlemen. It is an honor for me to be able to speak at this time. Of course, as we know, diplomatic relations between the Republic of Indonesia and the UK have been established for decades, since 1949 until now. The UK is one of the important partners for Indonesia, including trading partners in the European region. Close these relationships and partnerships open up opportunities for collaboration in various sectors, including the MSME sector or small medium enterprise. BNI's presence in London is very important for business people, especially for Indonesian MSMEs, which we are pushing to go global. This is because we encourage BNI London acts as an Indonesian-owned bank that can become a bridge for business people and associations of MSME diaspora entrepreneurs in the UK and Europe to partner with business people in Indonesia. Through comprehensive business solutions, including through transaction facilities and service, we hope that the existence of BNI London, which is adaptive to business demands, can help Indonesian business people, especially at MMSE, who want to expand their business to the UK and Europe. And we also hope that with the UK small medium enterprise business, Small Medium Enterprise Business Summit, this can be an opportunity and a chance for Indonesian MSMEs to explore and optimize the potential of their products. I believe this is a good and concrete step to advance Indonesia MSMEs. So I think that's enough for the video. So see you. Okay, I will continue the video of simultaneous interpreting from English to Indonesia. So let's start the video first.
A few years ago, I broke into my own house. I had just driven home. It was around midnight in the dead of Montreal winter. I'd been visiting my friend Jeff across town, and the thermometer on the front porch read -40 degrees. And don't bother asking if that's Celsius or Fahrenheit. -40 is where the two scales meet. It was very cold. And as I stood on the front porch fumbling in my pockets, I found I didn't have my keys. In fact, I could see them through the window lying on the dining room table where I had left them. So I quickly ran around and tried all the other doors and windows, and they were locked tight. I thought about calling a locksmith. At least I had my cell phone, but at midnight, it could take a while for a locksmith to show up, and it was cold. I couldn't go back to my friend Jeff's house for the night because I had an early flight to Europe the next morning, and I needed to get my passport in my suitcase. So desperate and freezing cold, I found a large rock and I broke through the basement window, cleared out the shards of glass. I crawled through. I found a piece of cardboard and taped it up over the whole opening, figuring that in the morning on the way to the airport, I could call my contractor and ask him to fix it. This was going to be expensive, but probably no more expensive than the middle of the night locksmith. So I figured under the circumstances, I was coming out even. Now, I'm a neuroscientist by training, and I know a little bit about how the brain performs under stress. It releases cortisol, that raises your heart rate, it modulates adrenaline levels, and it clouds your thinking. So the next morning, when I woke up on too little sleep, worrying about the hole in the window and the mental note that I had to call my contractor and the freezing temperatures and the meetings I had upcoming in Europe. And with all the cortisol in my brain, my thinking was cloudy, but I didn't know it was cloudy because my thinking was cloudy. And
Oke, beberapa tahun lalu saya mendobrak masuk rumah sendiri. Saya baru tiba saat itu sekitar tengah malam pada puncak musim salju di Montreal. Saya mengunjungi teman Jeff di kota sebelah dan termometer di teras menampilkan -40 derajat. Dan jangan bertanya Celsius atau Fahrenheit, -40 adalah titik pertemuan keduanya. Saat itu sangatlah dingin. Ketika saya berdiri di teras depan dan merogoh saku celana saya tersadar saya tidak membawa kunci rumah. Bahkan saya bisa melihatnya dari jendela tergeletak di meja makan di mana saya telah meletakkannya. Jadi saya berputar dan mencoba semua pintu dan jendela lainnya dan semuanya terkunci. Saya mencoba menelpon ahli kunci, setidaknya saya membawa ponsel, tapi saat tengah malam, ahli kunci tak akan bisa tiba dengan segera. Dan saat itu sangat dingin. Saya tidak bisa kembali ke rumah Jeff untuk menginap karena saya ada penerbangan ke Eropa esok harinya dan saya harus mengambil paspor dan koper saya. Putus asa dan kedinginan, saya mengambil batu besar dan memecahkan jendela saya. Membersihkan pecahan kacanya, saya merangkak masuk, saya menemukan sebuah papan dan menutup lubangnya. Berpikir nanti di pagi hari di perjalanan menuju bandara, saya dapat memanggil kontraktor untuk memperbaikinya. Memang akan mahal, tapi mungkin tidak semahal ahli kunci di tengah malam. Jadi saya menyadari pada situasi ini hasilnya akan sama saja. Saya seorang ahli saraf dari jalur pendidikan dan saya tahu sedikit bagaimana cara otak bekerja di bawah tekanan. Otak akan mengeluarkan kortisol yang meningkatkan detak jantung, yang mengatur adrenalin dan mengacaukan pikiran Anda. Jadi keesokan paginya, ketika saya bangun dari tidur yang singkat, mengkhawatirkan tentang lubang di jendela dan mengingat-ingat untuk menelpon kontraktor saya dan temperatur yang sangat dingin dan rapat di Eropa nanti. Dan Anda tahu, dengan kortisol di otak saya, pikiran saya tidak jernih. Tapi saya tidak menyadarinya karena pikiran saya tidak jernih. So that's all of my video. I think it's enough. So see you in the next video. Bye.